At WFM Labs, our organization recognizes the importance of gaining market insights to compete effectively and provide better goods and services to our customers. However, exchanging price or commercially sensitive information with competitors can violate antitrust laws and harm competition. To avoid antitrust risk, it is essential to ensure that information exchanges in the WFM Labs community are reasonable and promote competition. This includes avoiding discussions or coordination of sensitive topics such as customer prices, pricing paid to vendors, compensation paid to employees, or proprietary information. If you would like more information, please refer to the guidelines outlined by the FTC and DOJ, Antitrust Guidelines for Collaborations Among Competitors. In addition, WFM Labs meetings are being recorded. By continuing to be in the meeting, you are consenting to be recorded. And finally, we ask that all participants review and comply with our code of conduct. Thank you.
My name's Ted Lango. I'm with WFM Labs. I want to put together a quick 30-minute session. I'm going to go pretty fast because there's a bunch to cover here. However, I will have a Q&A at the end. If you have questions, you want to kind of double click into something, stick around after 6:30, and I'll leave it open as long as people want to stick around. I'm going to give a quick introduction to ChatGPT. I'm going to quickly go through some settings, and then what I promised were some hacks as to how to use ChatGPT. This is for anyone of any experience. If you're brand new to large language models, you're in the right spot. I'm going to try to keep it pretty simple, down to earth. So let's jump in because a lot to cover here. Just real quick, I mean, if you're new to AI, large language models, they've been around for a while. This isn't really a new technology. I've been following it for probably the last 15, 20 years, but it really started back in the 50s with Alan Turing. Really, it goes back to the mid-30s where he came up with this concept of the Turing machine. And from there, we progressed forward over many decades. The first chatbot, I love this little tidbit in that a lot of us deal with chatbots, but the first chatbot was actually deployed in the mid-60s. It was 1966. Its name was Eliza. It was a psychotherapist chatbot. You can still find it out there. It's based on this Rogerian psychotherapist thing where it'll ask you, how are you feeling? Are you feeling depressed? It'll come back and say, why are you feeling that way? It's interesting. It's still out there, and I find it interesting to go back and play with it. Technology that started back in the 60s. In the 60s as well, we had things like Shaky the robot. Then we entered this period of sort of an AI winter where not a lot was going on in the 70s and the 80s. The late 90s going into 2000s, things started to pick back up. A lot of you probably remember Ken Jennings play Watson and lose to Watson in Jeopardy. And then we've all are familiar with Siri and with Alexa and all the various bots. I'd say if you haven't seen, there's a great documentary on AlphaGo and Lee Sedol back in 2016. AlphaGo, which was developed by DeepMind, defeated Lee Sedol, who was considered the world champion in Go, which is a far more complex game than chess in terms of where a computer first beat someone in chess. At the end, or in more recent times, really this goes back into the late 2015, 2016, a company called OpenAI formed a partnership with Microsoft. Elon Musk, Sam Altman, Greg Brockman formed this company called OpenAI. Back in 2018, they released the first version of ChatGPT, GPT-1, which was trained on like 120 million parameters. And then they kept going. 2019 was ChatGPT-2. 2022, at the end of 2022, was ChatGPT-3. In November almost a year ago, really started to get people's attention. And then in March, they released ChatGPT 4, which is what I'm going to focus on here today, which really started to change the game and open people's eyes into the possibility of large language models. You hear a lot of terms out there, and I'm just trying to kind of set the table for, you'll hear things like Google Bard, ChatGPT. You'll hear things like Anthropic and Claude. There's a number of models out there. I think the two that are kind of rising up that you'll hear most about in at least the near future is this relationship between OpenAI and Microsoft with ChatGPT, which is the hacks I'm going to share today. That doesn't mean you can't go and apply them in different spaces. Maybe you're using Bard on Google through their search engine. Google is playing a little bit of catch up. ChatGPT started this project again back in 2016 with a strong partnership with Microsoft. Google now at this point has released Bard, but I'm going to be focusing on ChatGPT itself in terms of the hacks. You'll also run into just a number of different tools that are popping up every single day. You may already be using them, whether it's through Adobe and Photoshop, or if you use tools like Grammarly. There's a lot of things that are built on top of these large language models. Some directly are dealing with chat interfaces. Others are, the artwork, a lot of visual stuff. So there's just a ton out there, but I just wanted to say the hacks I'm going after here and where I'm focused is really about ChatGPT. That's not to say that your company or yourself may end up using OpenAI, but I'm making a bet that most of us will be exposed to ChatGPT at some point through that Microsoft partnership. So at the end of the day, ChatGPT is what we're looking at here tonight. The version I'm looking at is ChatGPT 4. There's a free version and there's a paid version. I know a lot of people may have played with the free version. The paid version opens up access to ChatGPT 4. That is where these hacks are sort of focused. So if you want to follow along, and I'm going to do more of these hack sessions, really they're based on this ChatGPT 4 and ponying up the $20 a month to get in there. I think it's the best $20 a month that you can spend. I think you can learn a lot. Even at the end of the day, if you don't end up using ChatGPT, there's a tremendous amount that can be learned about what we're going to talk about today, which is some of the prompting, the hacks that we go through themselves. Just to set it up, if you have you leveraged, or if you're in ChatGPT, there's some settings that you need to be aware of. Down at the bottom left, there's like these ellipses, 3 dots down here that you click on, and that brings you up to your plan, which you have to upgrade to spend the $20 to get ChatGPT Plus. There's some custom instructions and there's some settings. I'm going to just quickly touch on the settings themselves, because additional hack sessions that we do will rely on the fact that you've got these settings turned on correctly. When you click on settings, you'll see a window that comes up that shows your general settings. Real important, you have to have a dark theme. Just kidding, that's just my preference. I like a dark theme as opposed to a light theme. You can also go back and clear all your chats. There's a data controls section, which is important if you want to share your chat history for future training on models. You leave this on. If you want to chat with ChatGPT 4 and you don't want your chats to be used and for future learning, you need to turn this off. There's some other functions in here that you can explore. The important one here is this beta features, where at the end of the day, you'll want to click all these things on if you want to take advantage of some of the hacks and tricks that we'll show here. You want ChatGPT 4 essentially to be able to browse the internet. You'll want plugins enabled. Next session I do will focus heavily on plugins and this advanced data analysis section. By turning these things on, you sort of have the full power of what's capable within ChatGPT 4. The advanced data analysis piece allows you actually to start uploading files directly to ChatGPT to work with those. When you turn on all of those features up at the top here, just for navigation standpoint, you're going to see two different chat models. Again, I'm going to focus on ChatGPT 4 after 6:30. If people want to kind of explore some of the differences between 3.5 and ChatGPT 4, I can speak to that. But here going forward, even though I'm not going to cover it tonight, this browse with Bing, the advanced data analysis, and very important here are the plugins. You're going to want those things enabled. Once you've gone through and really turned on all of these features here, then you'll be able to see these features available to you in this ChatGPT 4 model. Again, going pretty fast here. If you've got questions about the settings, we can chat about that at 6:30 here, but these are going to be important settings to have enabled for future sessions themselves. So kind of let's dive into what we're talking about here this evening, which is really what you do when you want to interact with ChatGPT. You send a message, you have to enter a prompt itself. You may have heard of this term prompt engineering. At the end of the day, it's what do we type in here to get the GPT to actually respond to us. Most of us do what are they called these multi-turn conversations, where we type something into the prompt, like I'm writing a paper, I'd like to research attrition in call centers, write me 2 paragraphs. And the bot returns a response. Certainly, here are 2 paragraphs that'll help you on that paper itself. What does it look like in ChatGPT? I'm writing the paper. It just kicks back the paragraphs themselves. At the end of the day, this is kind of the common way that people start engaging the chatbots themselves. But really, you're not even beginning to take use of the power behind the bots. If you're just having a conversation back and forth, yeah, it might be interesting. You may get value out of it, but you're really not tapping into the full value of what you can get out of this. At the end of the day, you may go out there and say, I want to learn more about how do I engage chatbots. And you'll see there are a ton of ways. Priming, few shot and zero shot learning, role play, opinion-based prompts, chain of thought prompting. At the end of the day, there are a lot of complex methods that you can use which go after telling it how to deal with the role, the goal, the context, the parameters, all of these things that ultimately you have to think about the clarity, the comprehensiveness, action-orientated prompts. If you want to go after something like a simple scenario-based prompt, you could spend 15, 20 minutes just coming up with the prompt itself. We're not going to go through any of this. This, at the end of the day, is what I think ultimately steers a lot of people away from getting into what really makes this tool work. I'm not saying don't go out and learn these really detailed prompts, but at the end of the day, there are quicker ways that you can use these hacks to try to experiment and get more out of ChatGPT right away. So the first hack I'm going to speak to is, rather than starting out and saying, I'm writing a paper, I'd like to research attrition in call centers and write me 2 paragraphs, we actually put a script in to the send a message section right down here prior to typing what we need. That script itself, I call it scripted prompt, structured commands for role play, instruction, persona, task, execution, derivatives. It's like a long acronym for a very complicated set of instructions that we're giving it ahead of time. And instead of having to learn all of these instructions, there are a ton of scripts out there that you can just plug into ChatGPT that allow it to understand, what you're trying to go after and why. One of these scripts itself, if I was just to pull it up, is a long list of gobbledygoo that just is things that people have played with that says, this is a particular model taking this perspective. It goes on and on and on. I'm not going to train any of this or teach any of this either. I'm just showing you, at the end of the day, there's these long scripts that you can put into ChatGPT to ultimately make it perform in a very different way than just if you typed in a set of instructions. I call it a scripted prompt. It's something that you put in first before you actually start to engage ChatGPT for your discussion itself. At the end of the day, when you put that instruction in, ChatGPT acknowledges it, comes back and says, hey, all of a sudden I'm Omnera, your omniscient, I can't say that word. I'm Onera, your omniscient academic research assistant destined to cater to your profound and intellectual explorations. Goes on with a robust architecture of cognitive acumen. I encompass an extensive rapport of academic research scripts. So this is a set of instructions that puts ChatGPT in the mindset of being an academic research assistant themselves. So now I've done that. I've said, here's your instructions. Now I prompt it. I'm writing a paper. I'd like to research attrition in call centers. Write me 2 paragraphs. The quality and type of response you get back will be quite different than if you just sit there and prompt it to begin with. It'll go through and give you a response having taken the role of a specialist, in this particular case, a research specialist, relative to the question you're asking itself. So this is like hack number 1 that really changes the dynamic of how you engage, is you leverage these prompts, these scripted prompts, to essentially prime ChatGPT into the role it wants to play. Do you want it to play an academic researcher? Do you want it to play a digital marketing role? Do you want it to play a role as a programmer? I've placed some of these examples out on our community page at WFM Labs themselves. I put in 3 or 4 just this evening, started up a new section so that you can check these out and essentially seed ChatGPT with these instructions. That's hack number 1, but honestly, hack number 2 is 100 times more important to me. This is the use of something called custom instructions. Back here on our settings, if we go down to the 3 dots down below, you're going to see a section called custom instructions. These custom instructions, when you type or when you click on those dots and you click on custom instructions, will bring up a box in ChatGPT that a lot of people don't even know is there. If you go in and fill these boxes out, ultimately, this is far more powerful than even those scripts that I just showed. The first box is, what would you like ChatGPT to know about you to provide a better response? The second box is, how would you like ChatGPT to respond? So this top box is really all about you. Where are you based? Who do you work for? What are your hobbies? What subjects do you want to talk about? What are some goals? You can put whatever context you want in. If you want to use ChatGPT relative to your hobbies and interests outside of work, go ahead and type up a paragraph on that. If you want to put ChatGPT to work for what your area of specialty is, tell it, what you do specifically. And then I'll speak to the second section and then in just a second here about how you want ChatGPT to respond. In the top section, I put something, I'm Ted Lango, seasoned contact center professional. You have 1,500 characters. I, put in as much as I could about how I wanted to use ChatGPT when I'm interacting with it. This makes a huge difference in how ChatGPT will work with you. So take a moment, think about a paragraph of what you want out of ChatGPT relative to your role. The second half is really, I think, the ultimate hack of hacks here. This is a hack that I picked up online. I won't take any credit for it. It's this act as Professor Synapse hack itself, a conductor of expert agents. Taking this shorter set of instructions, and rather than prompting every time you start a conversation, you're effectively prompting ChatGPT with these instructions for all the conversations that you have. So by placing this set of instructions in here, every time you start up a new chat, as long as you have this enabled, you're going to tell ChatGPT to act as Professor Synapse. Professor Synapse is a really clever prompt that a gentleman came up with that uses variables and changes the way that ChatGPT is interacting with you as you're going through a dialogue itself. I'm not going to, piece this out, but these little squiggly lines in here around role, context, tools, reason, steps, they really allow you to use ChatGPT dynamically without having to reprompt each time and tell it a new way that it wants to act. What happens when I put that in? I just start over and say, I'm writing a research paper. I'd like to research attrition in call centers and write 2 paragraphs. It comes back and says, hey, hi, Ted. It recognizes me because I've put my own instructions in there. I'm Professor Synapse. I'm a conductor of expert agents. This is a real important concept. It acts as a conductor that's going to now pull in other agents relative to how your conversation progresses. One of the interesting things it does right off the bat, because it's in the prompt, is it asks me for clarifications. What's the main focus of your paper? Is it solely attrition on call centers? Is it part of a larger topic? What aspects of attrition are you looking to cover? Are there any particular methodologies or frameworks that you want me to use or avoid? What would you like to focus on first? I go on and say, well, I want attrition in call centers. I want to focus on the reasons for attrition, and I'd like to use a framework which fits best for me turning these 2 paragraphs into a blog. It goes on and acknowledges this, and it says, hey, if you're ready, I'm going to pull in Synapse COR Core to connect you with an expert agent. It does a lot of prompting. Are you ready? Will you clarify? That might become annoying as you use it over time, but I find it as a pretty structured way to have a conversation back and forth. So I say, yes, get on with it. Okay, fantastic. It pulls in now a new agent expert, an expert on workforce management and organizational behaviors. It tells you a little bit about it. It tells you how I'm going to help you accomplish your goals by doing step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. And it basically says, shall we start to identify the reasons? Yes, please. It goes on and it proceeds to identify the reasons behind attrition, emotional exhaustion, lack of career development, low pay. Now, based on these factors, shall we start drafting your first paragraph? Sure, let's go on. Excellent, let's dive in. It drafts a paragraph about attrition in call centers. It asks me, hey, does this looking like what you're trying to get at? Do you want to make any changes? I say, nope, good start. Let's move on. And so then it goes on to draft me another paragraph. Second paragraph, I say, hey, perfect, fantastic, glad it meets your expectations. Anything else you'd like to do? You can do other things with this now at this point, and I pulled up a command that's called reason, where it says, let's reason through the next steps that we should take. Do you want to go ahead and integrate this into your post? Do you want additional research? Do you want to do a peer review on my 2 paragraphs? Sounding like I'm writing a PhD paper, a peer review. I took him up on, hey, what are your suggestions for a peer review? What it does at this point is it re-engages with a new expert. It brings in an expert in academic and professional writing and starts stepping me through the objectives to go through and do a peer review on my 2 paragraphs. I changed my mind. I said, let's do something different. Debate me on whether these 2 paragraphs are correct. Immediately, it will start to then reposition itself again. I'm an expert on debate and critical thinking. This is a really, really powerful prompt and one that you can seed in the instruction set that really starts to change the way that you use ChatGPT. If you haven't used ChatGPT, I'd go right out and just start with putting this prompt in your instruction set. If you've been using it, go ahead and try it. I think you'll find that the difference in the interactions and how you use ChatGPT is rather profound. So that's hack number 2, which is get this prompt of prompts, I call it, and put it in your instruction set on ChatGPT. And again, it becomes a 10 times more powerful tool in how you leverage the large language model. Third quick hack is script your scripts. I've talked a lot about scripts here. there's a lot of data to flip around here when we're working with scripts, and I may want to change my own persona in terms of how I'm instructing ChatGPT to ask. A lot of tools out there. I use something called TextBlaze, which is a Chrome plugin. At the end of the day, TextBlaze allows me to just type a slash and a couple of characters, and then it'll prompt, or it will pull a script that I've saved and populate it into an area. Even if you don't have the ability to script your scripts, we've all got Notepad. Save these scripts on notepads, and at the end of the day, you'll find it 10 times more useful than going back and trying to search for and craft through these various prompts. The one thing I've learned is there's a number of different ways that you can use these scripted prompts, but it becomes overwhelming at a point to just keep track of them all. So I just recommend that you script your scripts. Some of these tools are really slick, and before you know it, you can be accelerating the way that you push prompts through systems. So that basically is 3 hacks in 27 minutes for ChatGPT. I said I was going to go fast. I did. I need to take a breath in a second, but just for the next month, I'm going to do this, one of these sessions each month. Next month, I'm going to do plugins. So if you start to play with this stuff and you're interested, absolutely pony up the $20, get the plugins. I'm going to focus on this plugin called Notable. It is a really cool plugin where you can start to do amazing things with your data itself. You can get an account with Notable for $0. You don't have to spend anything for it to try it out. Notable itself allows you to do really cool things along with ChatGPT. If you use this prompt to go in, take your data, it can be synthetic data, sample data, do data analysis like you've never seen before. It's a super, super powerful way to do not only data analysis, but to get into Python programming, R programming. I'm not a programmer, but I've written Python scripts and deployed actual programs just using ChatGPT connected to Notable and this notebook standpoint to basically do data analysis and programming itself. All right, so that's it. I can't believe I got through that in 28 minutes, but thanks for listening to 3 hacks here. I will say at this particular point. Hey, again, it's Ted Lango with WFM Labs. Thanks for watching the ChatGPT hacks. If you've got questions about anything you saw, I'll put a link down below leading to WFMlabs.org, where you can grab the prompt that I demonstrated. Anyone's welcome to join. WFMlabs.org, it's in our community site. I also put a link toward my calendar if you'd like to ask any questions on this. If you got Q&A around ChatGPT, the prompts, and you're in the contact center industry, or if I work with you or know you, you're welcome to reach out. Even if I don't know you, love to hear from people on how to use ChatGPT and AI in the contact center and customer service space. Feel free to leverage my calendar link below if you'd like to chat about it. Thanks again for watching. Hope you enjoyed.